from Sports Illustrated out there in Las Vegas, Nevada. Just, I guess one would think, covering the scene there in Las Vegas, Nevada, hovering around the entrance to catch to see if Nicholas Batum is going to be stalked by Debbie Gibson is none other than our friend Chris Mannix. How are you, Chris?
What's going on, Rich? I think I got maybe one of those references.
Okay. Did you have Wembanyama and Britney Spears on your Summer League bingo card in any way, shape, or form coming into Las Vegas?
I did not. That was a fairly wild story to emerge, and to have Victor Wembanyama have to be asked about that, right after his first practice at Summer League was wild. I mean, it became a global story. The video, I'm sure TMZ paid a fortune for, pretty crazy over the last couple of days there.
Did anybody have the temerity to ask this question of Greg Popovich for his reaction? Anybody at all?
As far as I know, Pop hasn't done any kind of formal media. And look, I've done interviews with Pop sometimes over the years, and I would not ask that question, and I don't plan on someday asking that question.
So we're just going to leave it there and just move on with the actual basketball that's going on there. And in terms of that, I mean, it was a very NFL overreaction type moment to see the way Wembanyama played in his first game and extrapolate that to anything. And then Sunday night, obviously, he looked more like the first overall pick in the draft. How was that part of the conversation from your perspective over the weekend in Vegas, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, nobody that's been around the game reacted at all to Wembanyama's play in the opener. In fact, most people kind of focused on the positives that they saw. The obvious defensive presence. I mean, he had 5 blocks in that game. He blocked a three-pointer. He blocked a bunch of shots at the rim. He altered, probably just as many at the rim. I mean, he is going to be, maybe as soon as next season, an all-defensive team player. Like, he's that good. He's not vulnerable on pick and rolls in the way that most big men his size can be, and he's just a towering presence in the middle. He's going to be great there. I also was impressed with his playmaking in that opener. I mean, he played off the dribble a lot, and he wasn't just forcing shots. He was looking for teammates. He had some nice shovel pass. Did some nice things there that opened my eyes a little bit. I mean, the rustiness, you get the getting used to the NBA game after playing a lifetime of FIBA basketball. You get, what referees will allow in today's in the NBA. You're going to have to learn that on the fly. But anyone that thought that the game was, the game will be too strong for him, like the guy played in the French leagues with 30-year-old men. Like he came the same route that Tony Parker came. He was playing at a young age. So I'm not worried at all about Wembanyama's ability not just to settle in quickly, but to dominate very early in his pro career.
Is this the first time you laid eyes on him in person? Saw him in the flesh, Chris?
In the flesh, yeah.
Oh.
I watched the games he had in Vegas,
sure,
of course, and have seen a lot more. But yeah, he's impossibly long. I mean, that 8-foot wingspan is legit. He's just a physical specimen out there, and to be able to do some of the things that he's able to do is pretty remarkable. I mean, I think when you get, there are two things when you get into the NBA season that he's going to have to adjust to. One is guys are not going to challenge him softly, like they're going to drive into his chest, like they're going to make him be physical until he proves he can be. Which may take a couple of years before his body starts to fill out. He's only 19 years old. And, the other thing is that when, he has a little bit of flair to his game and likes to play off the dribble. That's fine in Summer League, and it was fine certainly playing overseas. But, I mean, that ball takes a long time, Rich, to hit the ground when he's dribbling. He's just really tall. And you're going to see good defensive players able to reach in, do some things that disrupt him, and probably make him into something of a turnover machine, early in his career. So he's going to have to figure out, that he'll probably figure out early on that, just collecting the ball at the top of the key and playing off the dribble, that's going to be a challenge for someone his size.
What do you make of the 5-year deal Greg Popovich signed and was announced over the weekend as well? What's your thoughts there?
A little surprised at the length of it. My understanding, too, is that it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be the coach for the next 5 years. He's also the president of basketball operations there, and he could ascend into that front office role seemingly at any time. But Every somebody I talk to about Pop, they don't get any impression that he's in any rush to retire. In fact, last year you would think that it would be something of a draining experience. For Pop, it was kind of invigorating, to coach young guys, not worry about wins and losses, and to just notice incremental improvement from the players that he was coaching. Now he gets his hands on, the greatest prospect since LeBron, and according to some people, the greatest prospect ever. And, he's going to have a chance to develop, this next superstar. And, you can't, when you're Pop's age, you can't predict anything, as far as how, if he's going to be able to, do the things required of being an NBA head coach, the rigors of being an NBA head coach. But for now, Pop's out here in Summer League. He seems energetic. I don't get any sense that retirement is anywhere close for Greg Popovich.
Well, seeing the 5-year deal, I thought of again, because I'm so, football centric, Bruce Arians, when he retired. Now, there's always rumors that Brady and him weren't getting along or all that sort of stuff. But he said the reason why he stepped away when he did is he got to set up, the Buccaneers in the manner in which he felt comfortable, and he had his own guy picked out, right? And so the question is, I'm wondering if Popovich has that same thought process at some point, and who might get that golden ticket, even though you don't want to follow in the footsteps. You always want to be the guy after the guy. But if you've got Wembanyama and you've got the Popovich seal of approval, you talk about what an incredible gig, what a job. Who do you think, what do you got for me on that front as we're sitting here?
Yeah, it's a wide open field for who would replace him. Now, for the last few years, 4 or 5 years, there have been some strong candidates on that bench, younger candidates on that bench. You saw Will Hardy, who is an excellent head coach now in Utah. He was on that Spurs bench. Ime Udoka was on that Spurs bench. Becky Hammon was on that Spurs bench. So you had some in-house people. You still do in San Antonio, but Brett Brown is there. I don't know that he's looked at as the heir apparent necessarily to Greg Popovich. I think if and when he retires, and again, there's no indication that's coming anytime soon, but if and when he retires, I think you'll see kind of a national search, which may bring back someone from that Spurs pipeline, but it won't necessarily just be someone on that Spurs bench right now.
Chris Mannix, Sports Illustrated, Chris Mannix, the crossover podcast as well, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. There's another first overall pick in the Summer League. Is there any conversation about Chet Holmgren? You want to talk about somebody who's grown into a body? What are you seeing there at the Summer League as well?
Yeah, put on about, I think, 13 pounds since the last time he was at Summer League. It's pretty noticeable. He's got a long frame, so it's not like he's hulking up necessarily, but you can see much more definition to his body this year than you did last year. And even though he didn't play last year, you can see some confidence in his game too. I mean, I saw him play in, I think it was the Salt Lake Summer League last year, and he was still good and long, but he was pretty weak. It seemed like, especially in the paint, and you wondered how long it was going to take. This version of Chet Holmgren, you can see him being that Rookie of the Year mix right away. He's got skills, and if he's as aggressive in the NBA regular season as he's been at Summer League, the Thunder might have something pretty early. And if you look at what Oklahoma City kind of needs, like to get to that next level, it's exactly what Chet Holmgren can potentially provide. I mean, they need size, they need rim protection, they need kind of that co-star, big man co-star alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, they've got something already in Oklahoma City, and this version of Chet Holmgren, the things he can do with his physicality and how he's able to finish at the rim, and his defense as well. I think they've got a chance to be firmly entrenched in the playoffs next season.
Well, I mean, we'll see if he can, start strong, Chris. Maybe he can be the most improved player of the NBA in-season tournament, right? Could be one of those guys.
Oh, yeah, I'm psyched. I'm stoked for the in-season tournament, which I don't still fully understand. I just saw the press release, and I think I read it once, and I'm like, all right, we'll deal with this in a couple months, whenever it comes around. But look, in a way, I get it. The NBA wants to, make the early season more relevant. The ratings reflect, that people don't care in November and December. It just is what it is, because football is king. And most people, if you ask them, they would like the NBA to start around Christmas. Some people think the NBA does start around Christmas. So this is a way to tap into something new and fresh, and give people something to potentially care about. It's also a way to keep a toehold in Vegas. The NBA is pretty invested in what they're doing in Las Vegas now with the Summer League, and the semifinals and finals of this in-season tournament will be in Vegas. So I don't have a full firm grasp on exactly how all this is going to work, but it's been Adam Silver's dream for the better part of 5 or 6 years, and this is the year we see if it finally makes a difference.
Well, I understand the appeal internationally, and I understand you want to talk about adding some buzz to the regular season. The question is will they get buy-in from the teams and the players? Because November and December are the times where you got a lot of, for the old school phrase, load management, right? Like, let's keep guys fresh for later in the season. And I know back-to-backs will be part of it, but the front end will be the game, not the back end. And I don't know what that would mean when, I guess that's my question is, what's the buy-in from the teams here from what you're hearing, first blush?
I can say this. Well, two things. One, it's good that the NBA is doing all this in November and early December, because load management doesn't really kick in until January, February. Those are the dog days of the season where teams really start. When you have injured stars or older stars, or even just guys that you want to manage, that's when teams really kind of focus on that. Early in the season, you're playing guys. November, that's the first 2 weeks of the regular season. You're playing guys out. Early December, you're probably still playing guys out. The thing is, if this was a true postseason, right? If this was the conference finals or the finals, you would see guys play through ankle sprains and play through certain things that they wouldn't play through in the regular season. I don't think this changes that. I don't think these games will be ultra competitive because some sort of title is on the line. I think guys will do it and they'll play hard, and it'll be the equivalent of an intense regular season game. But I don't see this becoming akin to what we see in the postseason. I just think we're miles away from that being the case.
Last one for you, Chris Mannix, joining us here from Las Vegas, Summer League action right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Where does everything stand right now with Damian Lillard? What do you got for me on that front?
Well, the Blazers have a media availability in about an hour over at the arena, and that's more to introduce some of their recent signings and young guys and things like that. But of course, Joe Cronin will be asked about the Lillard stuff. My understanding is the Blazers really are nowhere with this. Miami wants him. Miami has made an offer, but I don't think the Blazers believe it is the best Miami can and will offer. And around the league, while there's been interest in Lillard, there really, as far as I know, there haven't been any firm offers right now for Lillard, as teams kind of look and see how this Miami situation is going to shake out, and keep trying to figure out if Lillard really will be disgruntled if he winds up traded there. So Miami, somewhat smartly, is my belief is they're making some lowball offers to the Blazers, try to get him for as little as possible, and we'll see. We'll see. This is kind of how these kind of high-level negotiations ultimately go. The Blazers are going to wait it out a little bit. They'll see if Miami ups its offer. They'll see if another team comes in with a strong offer. But my understanding of where we are now is that Miami is very much in the mix. They have made an offer to the Blazers for Lillard, but the offer's not good enough, and the offers around the league have either been – they've been mostly non-existent, I think. I have not heard of a firm, concrete offer from someone else for Damian Lillard.
Wow. And that's because they know this marriage is over and there's no way Lillard wants to be there anymore, so they think they've got Joe Cronin over a barrel? Is that what it is? Or...
Well, I think it's a lot of things. Look, Lillard's agent, and he said this publicly, has told teams, don't do it. Don't trade for my guy. And look, whether or not you believe that, it certainly is something for teams to digest. And this has all been happening, relatively quickly over the last week. So I think teams are still trying to figure that out, sort through that. the Sixers, they have a James Harden situation to work on as well, so that sort of makes their position a little bit murky. So right now there just aren't teams that are going all in or are really doing anything for Lillard. So at this point, it's Miami and Portland kind of talking to each other, as far as I know, and those talks have not gone to a place that Portland believes is right to trade Damian Lillard for. So I think we're kind of at a bit of an impasse with Lillard and his situation.
And so what's the deadline? What do we have? Is it training camp? That doesn't matter?
There is a deadline. I mean, he's got 4 years left in his deal. And, if you're Joe Cronin, you've got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Like, if you bring Damian Lillard to camp and, obviously that's the story. You'll have more national media at Blazers Media Day than you would ever have before. And it would be a big deal. And it would be, a distraction. But, is it worth a distraction? Is it worth it not to have a distraction and take a below market deal? And I would say no. Like, this is a once in a general manager's professional lifetime opportunity to make the kind of deal that will reshape your roster for years to come. Like, you can't get the Bradley Beal deal for Damian Lillard. You've got to get something closer to the Kevin Durant deal or the Paul George deal, because the Bradley Beal deal, that didn't do much except get Beal's contract off the books in Washington. The Kevin Durant deal, that set up Brooklyn with the kind of draft capital that they can live off for years to come. So I think you've got to be patient with this if you're Joe Cronin to make sure you get this right.
And what's the Harden holdup? I mean, is it a team other than Clippers?
There's no real market for him at the moment. I mean, he wants to play for the Clippers. Everybody kind of knows that.
Right.
The Clippers are in the same position as maybe Miami. It's like, well, we know Harden wants to play here. We believe there aren't many great offers, so you're not getting Terrence Mann. You're not getting our first-round picks. You can take expiring contracts if you want, and like a pick swap or a protected pick. But these offers for both Lillard and Harden, I don't believe they're anywhere close to what the best of teams could offer in those types of deals. And I'm not sure they're going to get there. I mean, if you're LA, like, why would you give the remaining of your draft capital, for a guy that is both, volatile, because of all the things that have happened over the last couple of years. In the last year of his contract that you can't extend, why are you going all in with multiple draft picks to get a guy like that? Especially when you're not really hard pressed to do it and you're not entirely sure that the Sixers have any other, options. So it's distinctly possible. I think deals get done. We got months to go for training camp, but it certainly is possible that training camp's open in late September and James Harden's in Philly and Damian Lillard's in Portland.
And you're in Vegas. Thanks, Chris. Greatly appreciate it. Let me know when you're back in LA, as always.
You got
always
it, Rich.
Appreciate it. You bet. It's Chris Mannix. Love chatting with him right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.